What's up, Guardians? Peace and Grease here, and I want to talk about something that's been bothering me for a few years now, and some of y'all, you're not going to like it. In fact, you're probably going to hate me for this, but I'm okay with that, because someone needs to drop the truth bombs, and if the big content creators and streamers aren't going to, I'll do it. Here's the thing. Our values have become skewed. They're out of whack. We've got players putting so much value on irrelevant pixels like emblems and ghost shells and ships and sparrows, and we even gave a nickname to our weapons, a god roll, right? A godly roll. We farm for hours and hours and hours, but at the end of the day, guess what? It's all irrelevant. If the server shut down tomorrow for Destiny, 20 years from now, do you think you're going to remember those emblems? Those ghost shells, those ships, those sparrows? No, you're not going to. Well, why am I even talking about this? Because, in my opinion, this is where all of the toxic behavior comes from in this community. That's the result of it. Because we put so much value on these irrelevant things. I'm going to tell you a truth that you're not going to like. I don't care about your emblem. I don't care about it. I don't care about your ship, your ghost shell, your sparrow, your emos. I don't care. Oh, well, this is rare. Yeah, and I don't care. I don't care. I have never looked at anyone's emblem before. I never have. And I never will, because it's so irrelevant. But we have this raid race twice a year. Well, I guess once a year now. Where people attach this massive value to irrelevant things. But that's not even the worst part of it. The worst part of it is they now attach that value to themselves. They don't know how to gauge their worth. So they do it with these irrelevant things. And I got to tell you that the most interesting people are those that have experienced life. And I know it's not the answer you want. It's not a simple solution. But let me ask you this. Have you ever sat on top of a sand dune for hours and watch the dunes shift? Watch the dunes literally move like a slow-moving wave? How many of you know that you can literally stand underneath a mountain of sand looking up at the sheer just size of it, and then you can go to sleep that night and wake up in the morning and it's gone? What was once a sand mountain is now flat ground. Because sand dunes are constantly shifting, they're constantly evolving, they're constantly changing. I would be willing to bet some of you had no clue that that was the case, or did that. What's my point, though? My point is it's those little things that are going to have value, not pixels. I remember one time I went into the hospital, appendicitis. I fought it for hours. The pain was unbearable. I was popping aspirin. I was doing everything I could. I didn't want to go to the hospital. Did not want to. I don't like hospitals. I had my friends come over to my place. Dude, you look awful, man. You're not even pale. You're like this sickly green, man. You got to go to the hospital. So after hours of fighting it, I finally went in. Apparently it was a good thing I did, too, because it was close to bursting. I woke up in the hospital bed, and the woman that I was dating at that time was curled up on the hospital bed with me. Because in that moment, I was her whole world. And the thought of losing me, she couldn't even comprehend that. Do you know what that's like? In the face of that, what is your emblem worth? Probably not much, huh? I remember one time I was camping. As a little kid. We were out at Zion National Park. Recommend you go, by the way. And I remember we were in this campground. It looked like it had just carved. It was bizarre because it was almost like this circle, perfect circle, where around it was just nothing but this dense woodland. So dense you couldn't even see more than a foot into it. That wasn't the interesting bit, though. The interesting bit was as I'm sitting there contemplating what's in those dense woods that I can't see, that's looking at us right now. And about that time, the biggest buck I think I've ever seen in my life, even to this day, stepped out. More materialized than it stepped out, because how does something that massive, that big, get through that dense woodland? And here's the thing. It had the biggest rack I think I've ever seen in my life. In case you're wondering, that's antlers. Deer shed those every year during the shed. But this deer, this buck, didn't look like it's ever shed. It was massive. More interestingly, it had leaves and vines and even flowers in the vines hanging off of its antlers. Huge, massive, majestic. And just as quickly as it appeared, it disappeared through the other side. Again, it wasn't even like it went into the dense woodland. It was like it just evaporated. Why am I telling you these things? Is it random? No. It's because at the end of the day, if the servers shut down tomorrow, you're not going to remember the pixels. You're not going to remember your emblem, your ghost shell, your ship, your spell. You're not going to remember any of that. The most interesting people in the world are the people that have experienced life. And our values are all out of whack. We put so much emphasis on that emblem. Oh, it's the rarest in the game. Oh, that ship, that ghost shell. But it doesn't matter. It's just pixels. Well, who do we blame for this? It's a whole host of things. Society, right? Social media. Content creators and streamers. Yeah, it goes back to them because they're making content on, oh, this is the rarest emblem. Right? They're not fully to blame. Even Bungie is responsible for a little bit of that. But I promise you, these pixels don't give you value. I remember reading a story about a photographer who, I don't remember what country he was in, but there was this little baby girl out in this deserted area, crying, alone, probably hungry, probably thirsty, lost, and vultures were surrounding her. And he took a picture of that. In that moment, that picture had more value to him than that human life, than that child. And he walked away after he took that picture. I think we can all guess what happened to that little child, that little baby. That's the problem. That's why every freaking year, twice a year, there's people up in arms. Oh, you can't change the raid race. Oh, everybody's going to get the emblem, and that's how I, determine my self-worth. It's not self-worth, my friend. It doesn't matter. It's pixels. You're worth more than some stupid-ass pixels. I'm sorry. Someone needs to say it, and here I am. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's irrelevant. The only thing that's silly about the whole thing is you fell for it. You believe that your value is based on some shitty little pixels. I think if we start emphasizing this and we start recognizing that in the grand scheme of things, this is supposed to be a distraction. It's supposed to be fun. But you're taking yourself and the game too seriously. Oh, you can't change this because more people are going to get the emblem, and that means that the percentage is going to go up on who has it, and it's not going to be as valuable. Therefore, I'm not going to be as valuable. Stop it. It's ridiculous. I've never once looked at somebody's emblem because I don't care. I have emblems, and I'm sure some of you do too, back when we had Mercury and back when you could do the Nightfall. I have 3 different emblems from Mercury. And they're rare because you haven't been able to go there for many, many years in this game. But I don't even run them. Why don't I run them? Because I run an emblem based upon how it looks. I like the colors. I like the designs. That's what values more to me. I don't care how many people have it. I only care about the fact that I like it. And I think if we start embracing that type of attitude, I think the community will start becoming less toxic. If we celebrate each other's wins, if we celebrate each other's victories, rather than tearing each other down. You know, when they did the trials changes, it's funny. I went into trials just to see what the changes were like. And I had a kid who was just, oh, you're bad at this game. And I so much wanted to respond, yeah, it's hard to bang your mom and play the game at the same time. But I didn't, because that would just feed into that toxic kind of environment. If you're better, why don't you help somebody? Why don't you say, hey, let me help you out? But that would mean that you have to be bigger than the game you put so much value in. I don't know. I don't know if the community is ever going to change. As long as we keep focusing on putting value on these irrelevant pixels, it's always going to be this bad. But hey, what do I know? I'm just an old gamer. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And until next time, peace out.